Yo, what it is, everybody? Thanks for tuning back in here to another episode here on the Speedbug channel. Today we're going to talk about the update on the Trans Am, and I made a video about it saying that it was pretty much blown up, and I was able to figure out some things that we thought was wrong, however, that weren't completely completely wrong, but there are a few things that were wrong that I was able to fix and stuff like that. So I wanted to go over the Trans Am update with you all here. So we did end up fixing the engine, and it did have some piston issues. For the ones that always were asking, did I spray it or anything like that? No, the vehicle has never been sprayed. I have not sprayed the vehicle ever, no power adder or anything. It's just always been 93 NA, and that's it. No blower, no turbos, no power adders, no nothing. But RPM is crazy on this thing. So I do rev this thing past 7,000, usually like 72, 7,400. And that's obviously due to the current camshaft that's in it. This is a street race car. It is not a daily. It is not very street friendly with its clutch, with the spool rear end. You know, it has no power pretty much before 4,000 RPM, and then it's all horsepower up top. For the ones that always say that, 500 wheel out of an NA-LS1 is not possible, perfectly fine. I really don't care if you believe me or not, because it's not my car. It's not your car. And if you weren't able to do it with yours, I'm sorry that you weren't. And yes, I know that's big cam LS3 numbers, and it is very well possible you can do it. You just got to know the right combination, have the right heads, and know how to tune your stuff really well. But that's pretty much about it. So, but obviously we all know the LS1 with the factory pistons, they have an enormous amount of blow by. I'm gonna get out of the darkness over here. An enormous amount of blow by from the factory. And when you do hook up the current PCV system to have it obviously go back to the intake, your fuel injectors will clean, the back of the valves and stuff like that, but you get an enormous amount of blow by, from the intake, and that also has to be accounted for within the tune. Now, if you do know anything about tuning, that once you remove that air charge out of the combustion chamber, it can throw off of your mixture and your AFRs. Well, that was also one thing here, but we also did discover some broken ring lands on the side. So we went ahead and fixed that. Everything is fine. Nothing is damaged inside of the cylinders. And of course, we fixed the PCV system and the new catch can and venting to atmosphere, and have all of that taken care of as well. So the engine now has been back and it is restored. I did go over it in my last video. I contemplated on whether I was going to keep it or not. Yes, I am keeping the car no matter what. Even if this engine blows up again, I am going to still put in my LS7 427, and that is where it's going to go, and that is where it's going to be. I have no intention on selling this car. I sat down in it for quite some time, sitting in it, just reminiscing, and the car is perfect. The car is built, everything that has pretty much been done to it. Every piece of suspension, all the brakes, the diff, the rear end, drive shaft, engine, clutch, transmission. Everything is pretty much done, and they just don't make them like this, and mine is in really damn good shape, and why get rid of it, I own the car. It doesn't cost me any money, so why wouldn't I keep it? And it's a classic. So I have no intention on selling this car, even though I don't drive it much. I'm more afraid of anything kind of to happen to it. Kind of like if I ever drive my white Corvette on the street, because it's just not replaceable. Yes, it's even though it's only 20 years old, but I don't really feel like replacing it. So, and I just enjoy looking at it in my garage. It is one of my favorite cars, if not my favorite car. My favorite car is, a second gen Bandit car, which I'll build like a year one, as I've mentioned that many times before. But I would build that in my own shop once I have the time to do that. And, that's going to be a couple $100,000 car. And it'll probably take me, a few years, to complete it all, to adapt the modern powertrain and everything else, under the sun. I would love to take the entire drivetrain pretty much like out of this and put it in, you know, a second gen 77, 78 Trans Am and stuff like that. But that's later on down the road. But overall, the Trans Am is perfect. The Trans Am is alive and well. I've driven it. I am just going to stick it back once on the dyno because I don't have an AFR gauge here, so I will take it back to my boy's shop and stick it on the dyno once just to make sure that my AFRs are just 100% correct. And that's pretty much about it. That's pretty much the update with the Trans Am. Other than that, no issues with it. It drives fine. Everything is pretty much is groovy. So I wanted to give you all an update on that. And Trans Am is staying here for a long time. And hope you guys stay tuned here for some more Speedbug content. And make sure you check out the Instagram @thespeedbug to always get the update on what's going on with the cars or the bikes. Peace out.